When you watch two UFC fighters go head-to-head in the octagon, it's easy to forget that it's just the end product. Behind each fighter is months of preparation and strategies designed to maximize their performance. In fact, some of these are even more important than their fighting skills. So what are some of the secrets that make them the best that have nothing to do with fighting? Which champion eats Nutella before every fight? And what is the best shortcut to the top of the UFC? Stay tuned, because all of that and more is coming right up. First up, mental warfare. Sometimes the battle for a UFC fight happens outside of the octagon. Sure, you need to be able to perform when it's time, but most of the top-ranked fighters are capable of knockouts and submissions. What separates them is how they approach their opponent and wear them down before even stepping into the ring. When Conor McGregor was matched up against Jose Aldo, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Aldo had been the long-standing champion of the division. He was the WEC featherweight champion for 2 years, before it was merged with the UFC. From there, he defended his title for another 3 years, making him one of the longest title holders in UFC history. All up, Aldo was undefeated for more than a decade, and challenging him for that title was Conor McGregor, who had risen rapidly through the ranks and attracted fans from all over the world along the way. He had total confidence in himself, and it showed. In the build-up to their fight at UFC 194, McGregor threw darts at a picture of Aldo's head, told the Brazilian that he owned Rio de Janeiro, and even learned the phrase in Portuguese to tell Aldo that he was going to kill him. In clips of the exchanges, Aldo often sits quietly because his English is limited, while McGregor mocks and insults him. McGregor was in his comfort zone, and the mental warfare worked. By the time they got into the octagon, Aldo didn't look like the champion anymore. The fight only lasted 13 seconds and is one of the most iconic moments of McGregor's career. The Irishman knocked out Aldo cold with a deadly left hook to take the belt. Now diet. A big part of a UFC fighter's performance relies on eating, making sure that they get enough energy, nutrition, and most importantly, that they stay at the right weight are all crucial to an MMA fighter's career. That's why all top fighters employ a dietitian and chef to manage their diet for them. In the build-up to a fight, athletes need to slowly drop weight so that they are not over the division limit. This involves slowly dehydrating their body, avoiding carbohydrates, and sweating out as much water as they can. On weigh-in day, fighters will often not drink any water at all. That's why they often look so skinny standing on the scales, but as soon as they've passed the weigh-in, the race is on to build back up as much weight as possible. It's normally just a couple of days between the weigh-in and the fight, so this is when a fighter's dietitian really earns their money. First of all, they need to rehydrate and take in as much water and electrolytes as possible. Fighters need strength and endurance for fight day, and that means eating the right foods. Adding carbohydrates back into their diet along with protein is the most important. But they can't just go to the buffet and start filling up. Fighters need to eat in small portions because their dehydrated bodies can't absorb too much. It's also important for them not to eat the wrong thing on fight day. Middleweight Israel Adesanya broke down his daily meal plan as oats with eggs and bacon with pancakes for breakfast, then teriyaki chicken, barbecue chicken, and sweet chili chicken before a pre-fight snack of Nutella and banana. Chicken 3 times before a fight? Aren't you sick of it yet, Izzy? Coming up, how does a fighter's training location affect their performance on the night? Location, location, location. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And nowhere is that truer than in the world of MMA. Fighters have to be ready for whatever their opponent will throw at them. So how do they do it? The key is finding the right place. Of course, it is possible to succeed by fighting out of smaller gyms, but there are good reasons for picking a gym with a solid reputation. That's why MMA gyms are big business. One of the most successful gyms is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and was founded by Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn. They have an MMA academy where they train young fighters to get to the top of the sport. If you doubt their abilities, just look at some of their success stories. John Jones, who is widely considered one of the best MMA fighters of all time, has trained there for years. But he's not the only one. Rashad Evans, Holly Holm, and Carlos Condit also cut their teeth at the gym named Jackson Wink MMA. That's part of the appeal of training at a top-level gym. It's not just the quality of coaching, facilities, and programs, but the that fighters get to practice against the best in the world. When preparing for fights, you need to find partners that will match the same style and level that your opponents will be. That's something that smaller gyms find hard to do. Next, teamwork makes the dream work. Fighters might appear in the octagon alone, but standing behind them is a whole team of people. So who's in the entourage and how important are they? For the UFC's biggest star, Conor McGregor, we may have never even heard about him if it weren't for his team. After a mixed start to his MMA career, the Irishman was considering calling it quits. The money wasn't coming in, and he was struggling on government benefits. He had been training at the Straight Blast gym, but just couldn't see a future. That's when Conor's mother got in contact with his coach, John Kavanagh, which changed his life. Kavanagh convinced him to continue, and that's when they got serious. He went on a winning streak at the Cage Warriors promotion, which eventually led to a UFC contract. Kavanagh is still McGregor's head coach, and he has said that they will never part ways. This is the same attitude that a lot of MMA fighters and coaches had. Uriah Faber started the well-known Team Alpha Male, which has produced fighters like Cody Garbrandt and Josh Emmett. Faber uses his experience and connections in MMA to help move his team members up in the sport, but it doesn't always work. When Josh Emmett attended UFC 276 as a spectator, he was basically ignored by the staff. The number 3 contender in the featherweight division was put in the back row and said that he and his wife could barely see a thing. Sometimes it's not enough to be part of the team. Now, VIP treatment. Most fighters work their way up through hard work and discipline, but if you play your cards right, a big personality can fast-track your UFC career. Of course, the best example of this is Conor McGregor. The notorious one was actually lucky to be discovered at all. It was during a trip to Dublin that Dana White was advised to meet with McGregor. At the time, he was fighting in the Cage Warriors promotion and had won both the featherweight and lightweight titles, so it's no surprise that Dana was receiving a lot of requests to sign McGregor. Dana had said that the fact that McGregor could fight was just a bonus. His real quality was his personality and charisma. Dana saw the potential of a superstar in McGregor and quickly signed him on a multi-fight contract, and the rest is history. But personality isn't the only way to shoot up to the top of the UFC. If you're already a celebrity, it can be much easier. That's the path that Brock Lesnar took. Lesnar was a WWE champion and former National Wrestling champion who wanted to try his hand at MMA. He won his first MMA outing before the UFC gave him an offer, and because of Lesnar's status, he went straight to the top of the list and got a fight against heavyweight champion Frank Mir. He lost their first encounter via submission, but came back a year later and brutally dominated Mir to prove to everyone that he was much more than just a show fighter. In his prime, Lesnar was pulling pay-per-view numbers of over 1.5 million per fight and the most feared heavyweight in the division. Do you think that it's fair to give well-known fighters preferential treatment in the UFC, or should everyone have to start at the bottom? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.